Jason Sands, I mean, he does have some wild stories. The one that I find a little hard to believe is he kind of gives the tall white story of Charles Hall credibility, where a lot of people say that that Charles Hall thing is a work, as we call it in wrestling. Is that just his PTSD, or do you think there's something to Charles Hall's claims too?
I, here is, I contacted Charles White, offered to interview him. He didn't want to be interviewed anymore. That to me
Charles
is a
Hall
little.
with the tall whites, you mean?
Did not want to be interviewed by me. I told him I'd keep it. I wouldn't reveal, in my documentary. He's not doing any more interviews. That to me is suspicious. As far as Jason Sand goes, I want to be this remarkable UFO investigator. Until I look into the entire story, I can't comment. What I can comment on is he's got the military DD 214s and documentation that put him at Area 51. And when I heard the surveillance story, I was to monitor eavesdrop on phone calls between government and government contractors, and government contractors talking to other government contractors. And I heard this. I stopped with Jason Sand's story. I don't need to know anything else. I don't have to speculate whether it's true or not. I just heard a bona fide story, in my opinion, a story that jives, a story that is not hyperbolic. I've got the DD 214 of what my job was, and this is what I heard. And what he heard was not hyperbolic. It was they're told us they're coming back for their craft and their equipment that was specifically said, and the bodies. And so, to speculate on the rest, like the Richard Doty, committing involuntary manslaughter to Paul Benowitz. Hey, until you've talked to the county coroner, the Kirkland Air Force Base, Paul Benowitz's children, trained psychiatrists, to ask them, can you induce schizophrenia by whispering aliens are real in someone's ear? Until I talked to the U.S. Air Force Office of Special Investigations, I don't touch the Doty story. We don't touch it because I haven't investigated it. So I believe 1000% Jason Sands eavesdropping story. Charles Hall is suspect to me.
I actually believed Charles Hall at first, and I got his books, and it's just he puts himself over continuously in the books like
I'm the
he's a
same way.
Superman. And
Yeah, right.
then yeah, and then it goes beyond the tall whites and he gets into other stuff.
Yeah,
So I don't know, there's some red flags there.
yeah,
And
red
he did
flags.
agree to an interview with me at one point. Then he pulled out because he said he didn't want it to take away from the movie as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it doesn't make sense to me. So I haven't investigated it too much. I believed him in the beginning. Again, like you, I read his book, and then I saw another documentary that he was on, and I just, you listen to it, and okay. But yeah, he becomes Air Force weatherman superhero, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I
and
just
another tough guy in his books, beating people up in his books and all this stuff. So yeah, and he's a genius, which
yeah,
he's a good worker. I'll give him that.
right.